History of photography by me in under 2 hours? Nah, not a chance. When I started this, you think, right, I'll condense everything into 2 hours, and I bought a book, and what we're covering, or might finish covering tonight, takes up that bit of the book. I've also got a number of sources off the internet as well, so that we've got that much to go, and we might not get through what I've got tonight. And so yeah, I did buy a book as well. It's very good actually, it's very good. I bought a book, I bought a clicker, and something else that might come up later as well. So I've spent money and spent a lot of time on this. Okay, so here's a rough idea of what we're doing tonight. We're going to make a start on the history of photography. It's honestly taken a long time to get to nearly 1900. Yeah. We're going to cover at least 1,000 years. I'm going to put you off a very famous author. Apologies in advance. There may be clues to the Christmas quiz. In fact, there will be, because I'm going to put the 10 questions in from this, or the history of photography, into the Christmas quiz. So, but no making notes.
We'll just all watch this.
She's going to edit that bit out so only she knows.
As usual, we're probably going to go off at tangents. I'll probably get things in the wrong order, but yeah. The technology will probably go wrong as well, but when you're taking things from different sources, it's like, okay, where does that fit in? Does it really matter if it's just a few years out of place? But I'll put it in there anyway. Because you go along and you think, oh, that's interesting, I'll put that in, just stick it in. There is a bit of nudity, if we get that far.
Ooh.
Not you,
Not Glyn.
Keep them on.
I better get out the camera shot, we don't want that on the internet, do we? And you're all going to enjoy yourselves. Oh.
We have been told.
Everyone at home. Right.
We have been told.
So where did it all begin? That's a question. Where did it all begin?
At the beginning.
Where, sorry?
Pinhole cameras?
Pinhole cameras. Anybody else? Sorry?
Cave paintings.
Was that photography?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that answer, so you're bugging everything up. Why was it photography?
Why not?
It depends on your definition of photography and your definition of what a camera is, doesn't it? So photography, as it will cut with, is drawing with light. They're not drawing with light, they're drawing with blood or whatever
They've got light to see by, haven't they?
Yeah, what, sorry?
They've got light to see by. Come on, get on with it.
There's always one troublemaker.
The camera obscura. Yeah, I've got lots of notes on here as well. What do we know about the camera obscura? Has anybody been to a camera obscura?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody not been to a camera obscura? Oh, okay.
There's one in Chester on the wall. If you go.
Chester, that far away. There's obviously one in Edinburgh. Apparently there's one in Bristol. Where else was my dad saying there
There
was?
was one in Burslem School of Art at one point.
Was it?
Yeah.
Alright. So what do you know about the camera obscura? Anything or nothing, or do you just want me to read it out?
Go on,
You
you
read it
spend-
out.
You spend so much time.
Well, these are the notes. Okay. The notes. Just to know. Sorry?
Just on the camera obscura?
Yeah. It's going to be quite boring. Right, the camera obscura. It was well known by the time of Chinese philosophers, which were from 470 to 390 BCE, who called it the locked treasure room. And Aristotle also knew the phenomenon. Phenomenon. That's going on the internet. We could have been done clever, aren't we? Since the word photography is literally defined as drawing with light, we can look back at the concept of the camera obscura as a probable beginning of photography. Nothing to do with cave paintings, because I didn't really say that. It is called a camera after all, even though artists had to trace the images. And these led to pinhole cameras, which is similar or same concept, which we now use for looking at the sun when there's eclipses and things. That should have come up before. Okay, camera obscura, it's very important to hold that pose.
I was about to say.
It just doesn't work if you don't hold a pose like that. Where are we? Oh, it's skipped. Right, so the original meaning of the word camera, did anybody know what the original meaning of the word camera was?
In secret.
Sorry?
In secret.
Nope.
That's what camera means.
Came from Latin. It means vaulted building. And that came from Latin via the Greek root camera with a K, which means vaulted chamber. So now, a device for recording visual images in the form of, now what it means, sorry, is a device for recording visual images in the form of photographs, film or video signals. So, next question. As photography literally means drawing with light, is it necessary to have a fixed image at the end?
Yes.
No.
Why? You start.
Because you can't prove you did it.
Yeah, but that's an image, the light rays are crossing there, so that is drawn with light because you've got something at the end of it
Can't believe
that
you
people
didn't
could
do
go
it.
in and see. Sorry?
You can't believe you didn't do it either.
Opposing view?
Well, I would say we've even gone back to that point with a digital image, because there's nothing permanent about a digital image. It's just ones and zeros on the stored on a hard drive. It's not the actual image until it's produced on the monitor, which is the same as that image being produced there.
But it is
Yeah.
captured permanently.
Mm.
It's not permanent.
Does it need to be captured permanently?
I got a photo.
True.
Yeah.
None of it's permanent, but the idea is to create the image. Just lots of different art isn't permanent.
Yeah, but it's meant to be there a while, so lots of people can look at it. And he's not going to be able to hold that position for too long, is he?
Yeah, but what they used to do was colour in this image,
Well, then
Yeah.
once it's
And
coloured
then
in, that's fine.
rotate it. Once it's coloured in, then it's a photograph.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Have you met, what's his name? Trent Pratchett?
Oh yeah, with the little elves in
With
the
the
box.
little-
Yeah,
Yeah.
the lads in the camp.
Moving pictures it was called, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I have. I'm not sure that's completely relevant.
What I want to know is, why is he missing his other arm?
Because he's holding it like
It's like that.
But it's not showing on the actual image.
That's because his head's in the way.
It's the other side of his head. Oh, I forgot I've got a pointer.
Possibly.
So are we agreeing or disagreeing on the fact that it's what was the question? Is it necessary to have a fixed image at the end?
I don't think so. No.
I think so.
Go on, let's have a vote. Who thinks it's necessary to have a fixed image at the end?
I agree.
It's about half and half, isn't it?
I agree.
Oh, sorry, the other people disagree or just don't care?
I agree to disagree.
Oh. See why this is going to take so long.
Well, it's nice that we've disagreed already, but we're moving on.
What's the answer though, Glyn? Someone's
There is
going
no
to leave
answer.
us like this. So can you leave us hanging?
My wife is always right.
Cheeky.
The other week when she was in London.
Yeah.
So, from the 1400s to the 1700s, near the start of the 16th century, the amazing artist, scientist and inventor Leonardo da Vinci sketched out diagrams and wrote instructions about the camera obscura. In these papers he included not just pinholes but also simple glass lenses. So there's already lenses around. What form of transport did Leonardo da Vinci invent?
And a tank.
I thought it was hovercraft as well.
And a
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
I'm a submarine.
And the glider as well.
I'm a
He was
submarine.
quite a clever bloke, wasn't he?
He was.
Quite a clever bloke. From 1604 to 1827, some people say 1826. Johannes Kepler, an astronomer and generally all-round smart guy, I don't know who wrote these, amazing Da Vinci, gets credited with coining the term photograph for a drawing with light in 1604. He was referring to using telescopic optics to project an image onto a sheet of paper or a canvas to draw the stars. So he'd got an image on paper, but he couldn't save it. It didn't last unless he coloured it in. Astronomers and inventors sought a way to make the paper or canvas itself sensitive to light. Glass or metal plates were also used in experiments by various people. In 1717, Johann Heinrich Schulze showed that a solution of silver nitrate darkens when exposed to light. The problem now was how to stop the solution from continuing to darken to light. In other words, how to fix the image to the medium. Right, so far we've had no photos.
Because nobody's taken any.
You're not as daft as you... nothing. You can edit that bit out.
No.
Because that's how it was. Okay, just imagine a world where there's no photos. Think of what we use photos for every day. We take pictures every day on our phone with our cameras. We look at photos every day in newspapers, online. And we're going back to a time when there was no photos. Anything that was recorded was drawn, painted, or written about. So we're going to go back to that world where we go, ooh, just imagine, there's no photographs whatsoever. There's nothing to... There's a whole world out there you know nothing about because you can't see it. Well, unless you go, obviously. But. And then this happened.
Oh.
That's one of my pictures.
I didn't like to say. What? Who knows the artist? What it's called? Sorry, the photographer, not the artist. That'll come up in a bit.
Paris or something,
It's
Somebody
French.
included last month.
It was in the Christmas quiz, wasn't it?
It was in the Christmas quiz, so everybody should know it.
It's somewhere in France. but that's
Yes.
not
Paris.
I can't remember
Wasn't
what happened
Paris.
this morning, let alone.
I'll put this up. That might go in this year's Christmas quiz. And I'll tell you, learn it.
It's an ambient, it's in
It was View from the Window of the Gra by Nicephore Niepce. That says 1826, but other people say 1827. And when I was doing the research, and a lot of the online timelines of photography started in 1826-27, they didn't take into account the camera obscura, what Da Vinci was up to, Kepler and things like that. Cave paintings, they ignored them, I'm not sure why. So a lot of people say that this is where photography started with this picture. And back to the questions. So how long was the exposure time? Do we reckon 2, 4, 6 or 8 hours? Did I put that in the Christmas quiz, or are you just guessing because that's the biggest?
I think we just clever.
Just clever, alright, okay.
It's actually two.
They're all clever. Yes, it was 8 hours. 8 hours to take one picture.
That's
I
like, Andy does.
And then came the Guerre. The Guerre? He had a type. Okay, I'm sure you've all maybe all heard of the daguerreotype. And I've written this in so many times into this flipping presentation. I should have just like saved it and just copied it. Daguerreotype, right. Painter Louis-Jacques Monde Daguerre was so excited about this achievement, Niepce's achievement, that he decided to partner with Niepce, and Daguerre continued to develop, refine and tinker with the process by using silver-plated copper sheets and mercury vapour. As he continued to develop his process, Daguerre was able to vastly reduce the exposure time. And the first camera, which you can see there, was basically a portable camera obscura with light-sensitive paper instead of the usual tracing paper. With a cabinet made by a man called Giroux, it had a 380mm focal length lens of between f14 and f15 aperture. It consisted of 2 boxes which slid apart altogether for focusing, and at the back a mirror could be dropped to make it easier for the photographer to see the image and the right way up. Inside was lined with black velvet to reduce reflections. But, okay, another question. With accessories, how much does it weigh? 15, 25, 35 or 50 kilograms?
Is that all the accessories?
Sorry?
Is that all the accessories on it?
No.
50.
I'll say 35.
25.
It's actually... Remember I said portable?
50.
25.
Yeah, it's 50. Not that portable compared to something like that. That's another daguerreotype. The exposure time came down to just a few seconds. Prior to this, it was about 5 minutes, meaning portraits consisted of a lot of sitting very still. The prints were often hand-coloured afterwards, as this one has been. So is it any wonder no one is out smiling in these shots? Or was it for another reason? I know some of you know this. Why were people not smiling in these pictures?
You're dead.
Because they were dead? They were
Bad teeth.
dead. They were alive. Sorry?
Bad teeth.
You must know this. I knew this. So why weren't they smiling?
It's difficult to smile for 5 minutes.
It's difficult to smile for 5 minutes. It's difficult to hold you.
You already
Like that.
said that. That's why we were suggesting something else.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Edit that bit out. I said, has anyone no one ever smiling?
Yeah.
I know, I didn't say, no, but
Same reason.
I didn't say it was because they had to hold it. I said it because they were sitting there a long time, actually. But it was because it was difficult to hold a smile for that one. And also people had to keep still for quite a long time, and they used mechanisms to help people to hold still. While babies had to be, well, we'll come back to some more things later. So what did they do to keep babies and children still? They were basically held down and preferably asleep, and some used ether to knock them out. The mechanisms that they used mainly for adults lasted for even less time than leg warmers and fidget spinners, as the next stage came quickly. I put that in. And then came the calotype process. Who came up with the calotype process?
Colour.
Mr. Colotype.
Mr. No?
Mrs. Colotype.
Very famous. Some people have asked if this guy was coming in. No?
What, coming into the
I was
club?
going to say,
Yeah.
you've got a speaker.
Henry Fox Talbot.
There's two names are never enough. William Henry Fox Talbot was a nerd, apparently. As he was painfully, this is what I haven't written this, as he was painfully shy and had interests ranging from maths to Greek verse, astronomy and chemistry. So if you're into that, apparently you're a nerd. I suppose these days it's computers and things. He was crap at painting. That's my word. Don't spin. I should have fixed this, shouldn't I? Sorry. Technical problem. So he concentrated on efforts on getting the images onto paper. Within 2 years, he had processing times down to 8 seconds in a process he called calotype. And hopefully. Okay, this is a calotype. Can everybody see that okay? It seems to be quite, I don't need to switch the lights off, do I, on that one? So, this is Fishergate by Hill and Adamson, and this is an exposure time of at least a minute. See how many people are in that? See how many children are in that? There's kids around, and everybody had to keep completely still for over a minute. And as it was bright sunshine, it was probably over a minute as well. I mean, you think how long you have to keep still now and pull the face when you're having your picture taken. Imagine sitting completely still for over a minute and getting all those people to stay still as well.
Then you have to do it all over again when you realise that somebody's moved.
Or is it
Yeah.
the lens cap off?
Yeah. I don't know how many takes there was.
I forgot the SD card.
But I haven't got the year of that. So let's get technical. The previous image was a colotype. Let's see what you needed to do to produce that image apart from get people to sit still for over a minute. High quality writing paper was coated with silver nitrate, then with potassium iodide. The salts reacted to form light sensitive silver iodide, and then this was the negative when dried. The exposure was at least a minute, as we've mentioned. The negative was developed using acids and a little silver nitrate. The image was then fixed by washing it in sodium thiosulfate solution. A print was then made by placing the negative in contact with a fresh piece of sensitive paper, and then you did it all again. I'm sure everybody understands that as much as I do.
Where'd you buy all that stuff?
Yeah, chemist. I don't. Was that be where you would have bought it from in those days, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody remember? I'm going to go pick on the oldest people.
Don't
Look at you. I might later, but you know, by the by.
Times.
So photography isn't necessarily instant, it just depends on what you're actually
Yeah,
trying
it
to
is instant.
photograph.
It is instant though, because even though you're going back there for that period of time to capture that, that's a choice that you make. But you will capture that moment in at that period of time, won't you? Whereas with the painting, you go back, and if you want that image or viewpoint, you've got to keep going back, and then you've got to then repaint it. It takes weeks.
Well, with the paint.
Again,
Sorry.
With the paint.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Hang on. Sorry, Andy.
I said with the painting, within a couple of minutes, the sky's changed, the lights changed.
Yeah, so you've got to remember
Plus,
remember how
plus
it
you've got to
was.
carry all the gubbins with you.
Gubbins.
Yeah, that's the technical term for all your art material, the gubbins.
Yeah, but you've got a 50-kilogram camera.
Yeah, but you can carry 200 kilogram art material on your back.
Yeah, true.
But don't you think, like, sorry.
Okay, you're allowed to talk, don't
Back to
worry.
paintings,
Alright.
like, you know, a Rembrandt painting,
Mm.
if you want to create that light that because obviously he's taken this from a window,
Mm.
so he's getting the light in the right place.
Yep.
So like Rembrandt lighting. So if you want to create that, then you've got to get your light in exactly the right place.
You've
So
got to
sometimes
stage it,
it's not instant, because you've got to keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking until it's that
An
until it's
artist can actually put the light where they want it. They can make this image the way they want it to look. If you're doing photography, you've actually got to go to the location at the right time, of day or year or wherever, to actually get the image has got to exist for you to record it. Whereas if you're an artist, you can actually make that image appear as though it snowed on that day, and it could be the middle of June.
You
when
have
go
heard
to
of
visit.
Photoshop,
Sure.
haven't
I was
you?
going to say, yeah.
And also, being an artist, it helps you take photographs because you know how things are and how they look. So you tell, yeah, that's going to make a good picture
Mm.
because everything's in orbit, and it makes it a bit easier to see things that other people wouldn't see.
it's just a different art, isn't
So you're saying some.
it? I
I'm
think it's
not
art,
disputing.
yeah.
This is an
Yeah.
open discussion. Don't worry.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing's wrong. Nothing's
Yeah.
wrong apart from Andy. I'm kidding.
It's not.
It's just something. It's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about this point in time?
I can imagine they'd be a bit annoyed. Especially if you were an artist that like...
It's like AI that's coming in now. Everybody's kicking up in arms, oh, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be because it's taking jobs off.
And I
But it's
suppose
a progression.
a lot of
Well,
artists
that's happened all
had
the way
jobs.
through history, hasn't it?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a revolution.
Yeah.
But a lot of artists back then had jobs like if you were a rich man in a manor and you wanted a picture of your favourite horse, your dog or even your family, you'd pay an artist to come in and paint them and they'd actually have a job doing that, a bit like, you know, the high street studios. And now, yeah, you've got photographers doing in minutes what will take them
Yeah.
minutes.
I think it's time we're always moving forward. That's a big thing with revolutionary AI at the moment. With these AI bots where you actually say to it, hi, could you draw me a picture of Jesus at the Last Supper,
Yeah.
raising a glass with all these chums,
It just does it.
and it draws it instantly.
I think the main thing that people are annoyed about there is that AI is using compiled information from loads of images already on the internet.
No,
That'll,
the new one isn't.
isn't it?
No,
Oh, okay.
That's what's so revolutionary about it.
Oh, right.
It's actually understanding the concepts of what you're speaking in speech.
Okay.
Yeah, that thing on Denise Targaryen from Game of Thrones, where they asked somebody to produce a picture image from what they described of what they saw. The picture was more or less perfect to what she looked like.
Yeah.
They do some amazing ones. They said to it, one of them was, draw the last photograph ever taken. And it was a picture of like a decayed skeleton taking a selfie with, in the background, the city had all crumbled. And this AI had done that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But again, people fight against it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a tool to
It's-
advance
I
like
think
photography.
it's what's
Yeah.
got everything moving forward, isn't it?
Yeah, things change, things develop. I mean, you'll say, you know, look how far we've come in photography in just 200 and so many years. Yeah, since, well, it's nearly 300 years, isn't it?
A long time.
Yeah. So, the other 100 Years' War, have a guess who that was between?
Photographers and artists.
Photographers and artists, yes. So, we've talked about the no skill needed photography, and that was it's part of what got the artists upset. But, sorry, I can't remember if there's a bit after this or if. So, what?
How much time?
Every possible transition, effect that is available in Keynote is in this presentation.
Glyn said to me the other night, he says, oh, I finished the presentation, but now I've got to put all the transitions in, and that was like 2 days ago, and you're still working on it today.
No, that doesn't take long, to be honest. I can do that while I'm watching telly. The rest you've got to just sit there. So, the 100 Years' War between artists and photographers. Photographers were actually better than paintings. Photographs, were actually better than paintings as representations of the subjects, because it was almost instant. It was a few seconds, wasn't it? But photography had to be at a battle to be recognised as an art form in its own right, as the AI will now. Won't it? Artists and its supporters denied its values as art. So yeah, we've already discussed that. So, and who at this point could be a photographer?
The rich.
Exactly, the rich. You can't afford that camera if you're in the workhouse, can you? Did they have workhouses then? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You did. Sorry, somebody remember? Yeah, thank you, Deb. Should I put this on camera? Our CEO sent a video out for everybody to watch about how the company was doing, and it was on a private thing on YouTube, where he actually called our warehouse and he called it a workhouse. And I pointed it out to my boss, the director, and he's like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, but he actually used the word workhouse instead of warehouse, so that made us feel valuable and valued. So yes, it was the only rich who could be photographers. Everything cost a lot of money, all those chemicals and everything was from the chemist that just on the corner, wasn't it, Alan? Yeah. They all cost a fortune. It wasn't just, well, it probably cost a fortune now, to be honest. And when the French painter Paul Delaroche saw a daguerreotype in 1839, he is said to have let out a pithy wail of despair and exclaimed, "From today, painting is dead." It wasn't though, was it? We wouldn't have had Dali. Hey, come on, sorry, just picking out my favourite. We wouldn't have had Dali if it had died out.
Or B&Q.
Well,
I'm glad you got that on camera.
what? Is it the time you had a break? She's going to sit there giggling now and not be able to control herself. Do you need a minute?
in the email tonight.
Don't just do it being cute. The art critic Ernest Lecan said that for artists, photography is like a mistress about whom one speaks with joy but does not want others to mention. They use photography, maybe to take photos of their art, but they didn't want anybody to talk about it because they don't really want to be seen to be using photography because they were artists. Right, I put another quick aside. I'm not sure if this is the first or what. Right, is photography vegan? There's at least 2 vegans in the room.
It doesn't eat.
Well,
No,
that's not the
consume
definition
animal
of vegan. Is it vegan that is not using any animal products?
I think the original film had animal products in it, didn't it?
Modern day, probably.
Modern day it is. Yeah.
Don't use ladder for the bellows and stuff on the...
Might have done, yeah. And was it always? It possibly did in those days. I'm not sure about a camera now. I wouldn't imagine. You'd be surprised how many animal products are in various things. Lilt has got animal products in it, by the way. It's got fish in it. And a cannel lilt. They're changing the
Not for
name.
much longer because they're changing the name.
Well, the Fanta equivalent of it will still have fish in it.
Fanta. Fanta.
Yeah, Fanta fish.
Fanta, pineapple and...
Pineapple and grapefruit, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, catchy title. So, in 1850, Louis Désiré Blancois de Vraat spent hours practicing it. Announces the method for creating albumin prints Photographers readily adopted his new printing paper. In 1866, the British Quarterly Review estimated in England alone 6 million egg whites were used annually to supply aluminium for coating papers.
Oh.
Is that on camera? Is that on camera?
Yes.
There's no. What happened to all the yolks anyway?
They used to use them in parts as well.
Used to use what, sorry?
Egg whites and for the plating.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, where did all the yolks go?
You keep selling them.
Make custard.
Make custard. Sorry, that was just an aside. This is totally out of. I mean, it was 1850s, wasn't it? So with cameras, and they became a bit more portable. We started photojournalism. It's the time to find out about what's going on in the world, what things are happening. Time for people to see rather than just have it reported, or somebody run across and take a picture, draw a picture of
Or
something.
wood cutting.
Or a wood cutting, yes.
Or
Lithograph. Can we see that?
Yep.
Okay. So this was. Right, sorry, let's go back to the first one. So yeah, so photography made its way into the news. This is the June Days 1848 Workers' Revolt in France. That is the Crimean War of 1853 to 1856. And that's the US Civil War of 1861 to 1865. So photographic images of war came into the public view. I'm not sure if people wanted to see them, because they're not fantastic things. But people started to learn what was going on in other countries, what was happening not just in their own backyards, and these would be in newspapers. They wouldn't be on the telly yet because it was invented. They wouldn't be on the internet because that wasn't invented either. And I know some of you can remember life before the internet and before mobile phones and computers. Can you remember before computers? Dial-up, yeah. Computers came in my school the year after I left, I think, was the first computers we had in school.
I was about 80 at the time, so it's like 43 years ago, I was ZX81.
Yeah. The mobile phones were invented in my lifetime.
We had one computer at school.
Whole school. So yeah, so that, you know, again, that just was revolutionising everything because people were finding out more. People were starting to get angry about things abroad. Not that I ever do on Facebook or Twitter.
No.
Oh, it's mainly things in this country, let's be honest. Excuse me. So written journalistic descriptions and hand-drawn or painted illustrations were replaced by photographic images. These images were displayed in public shows and published in newspapers and magazines.
So we're looking at 1850 to 1879 now. Photography was spreading. Photographers, chemists and instrument makers came up with ways to improve the image. Cameras became more portable, lenses were made that were smaller, faster, cheaper and lighter. And scientists made curved glass to make panoramas. A lot happened in just 29 years. Yet still photography struggled to get into its stride because, well, people. Photographers bickered amongst themselves, were harried by the fine art establishment. Some photographers wanted to join the fine artists, that's the word I've invented. Others thought they were a bunch of toffs and wanted nothing to do with them. And while these wealthy amateurs were bickering, the professionals were raking it in. Pretty much the opposite of today. Some of the pros packed enormous bags and headed off to distant lands as the travel photographer was born. Others made pictorial records of, well, stuff, and others just got their creative juices flowing and did their own sweet thing, exploring what this creative medium could do. And here's a shot, this is Whipple, from took a shot of the moon through the Harvard Observatory telescope, and I think that's better than any moon shot I've ever managed to get. But early photography had its deficiencies. Daguerreotypes, there's that word again, were tiny, flipped side to side and lacked colour. Calotypes were judged colourless, tonally rather dull and lacking in detail, something which was later attributed to the first digital images in the 1970s. Then we move on to Nadar. And he used a tethered balloon to get a daguerreotype in the late 1850s. Given the exposure time was still a few seconds, it's probably no wonder the images didn't survive. He kept trying though as exposure times decreased, and this shot of the Arc de Triomphe was taken in 1868. You know, it's quite a feat to prepare 8 wet plates in a balloon, let alone anything else, you know, apart from holding still.
Sorry.
Would you like to go back
Start
to
again.
the last
Start again.
20 minutes and start again?
So we talked about documenting the era. Anybody, that's somewhere being built. Does anybody tell where it is? Ooh, sorry.
Colsey.
No? Sorry. I didn't hear what you said, honestly. It's not there. It's not the Taj Mahal. That's either.
Kew Gardens.
No?
It's one of the big museums in Paris.
Yes.
Its name.
Yes, it's a big museum in Paris.
The Louvre.
The Louvre, yeah. That's the Louvre being built in 1863. No, sorry. 1854. That was taken by Baldus. Anybody know what those rocks are called? Or where they are?
The finished Louvre.
Sorry?
Is that the Louvre before they began?
You
No.
said, you said.
It is in Yosemite, yes. The rocks called? Cathedral rocks, I've got. Cathedral rocks in Yosemite, that was taken by Watkins in 1854. So people were going, oh, it might have been American that took that, and a French person that took, no, it was Watkins, wasn't it? So, that took the first one. So people are going out and taking pictures, and people are finding out what's out there, what things look like. I'm not sure you'll get that one. That's, where?
Florence.
It is Florence, yes. That's the Uffizi.
That looks nothing like the bottom end of Longton.
It is. It's got the
Buildings are still standing. Sorry. People were going out and taking pictures of people as well. The people you saw on the street, but that's all your knowledge of what people look like. People were going out and taking pictures of hill porters. This was in the... Claire will help me out on how to pronounce this.
Himalayas.
The Himalayas.
Himalayas.
Himalayas. If you ever watched 7 Years in Tibet,
Yeah.
and Brad Pitt trying to pronounce Himalayas, it's worth watching just so you can hear him say it, because he says it loads of times.
We watched it 10 years ago and we still say it like
We
that.
still say it like that now whenever we say it, because Himalayas often comes up in conversation, doesn't it? Surprising how often it does, isn't it really? So, yeah, people were finding out what other people look like. That was a Navajo elder, well, that was Hillers, taken in Arizona in 1879. And I'm not sure why he's looking away from the camera. It was, maybe that's, I'm not looking into the camera, but I'll look the other way. And that's an Albanian woman bride from Skadra, Skiskili. And that was taken in 1863. So a whole world was opening up to people just sat at home.
So where were these pictures shown? Because were they in newspapers?
Newspapers, magazines and exhibitions. If you'd been listening in the first half, I did say that.
Didn't they used to think that if you took the photograph, it should be of yourself?
Some people, yes. I think some people still do. I do. No. Some people still do, you know, particularly, you know, remote tribes and things, and
people around Longton.
people around Longton, yeah. But a lot of them haven't got souls, have they?
Yes, because people are here taking pictures of them.
Right, so on the subject of travel photography, this is Felix Beato. Beato.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was one of the first and greatest travel photographers. It was so fast moving that histographers have trouble keeping up with him. So much so that the places of his birth and death were not discovered until 2009. He was born in, remember this is the 1850s, something like that. Born in Venice, he moved to Corfu. He opened a studio in Constantinople, not Istanbul, went to the Crimea, moved to India, then China, then England, then Japan, then Sudan, then Burma, before ending his days in Florence. So quite the traveller, and he took quite a few pictures as well. He was Italian-British, 1832 to 1909, and he took travel photography to new extremes, I think. Okay, I'm not sure you'll be able to tell where that is. So this is Lucknow in India. This is the Secunderabad showing damage done during the Indian Rebellion. Skeletons of murdered Indian rebels lie on the ground. That was taken in 1856. Can you see the skeletons?
Yeah.
You know. You might not be able to see that very well, but that's a Chinese view of a river and a bridge and a village, including several Chinese people. So we've got documentation and.
Turn the lights off.
Can do, yeah. I've only got one more picture in this bit, so you may as well stand there and wait. No, turn it off and then wait, and then. And this one, I've got no idea what's going on,
Playing golf.
but it is, yeah. There's a blindfold and a guy standing behind them with a sword. You possibly guess what's going on, but all the pictures that Beato took at the time showed people hanging, sumo wrestlers, samurai, etc. And I'm probably repeating myself. Have lights on, please. Oh, we're good. Could have waited till you sat down.
Well, you can see Glyn again now.
Oh,
Sorry.
good.
Is that the right light? Is that the same light?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Well done. So again, people were finding out what people look like, what the rest of the world was like. Fading away. This is a picture taken by Henry Peach Robinson in 1858. And again, this is just a picture I've found, discovered, and tell you a bit about because it gives an example of what's going on at the time. Henry Peach Robinson was British. He was typical of early photographers and following the model of artists. Also, this stage photo was made up of several negatives, so it's actually a composite in 1858. So so what he's done is try and take a picture, like we said, like a fine art painting, but take a photograph. And then we've got this one, which was by Roger Fenton, and he almost straight out copied images by William Henry Hunt. So it's just reproductions, but photography, so more people can see it. Works of art, and my voice is going. Okay, it's time for some nudity.
Do we need the lights off again?
It depends how much you want to see the nudity,
Well,
really.
we want to see the pictures.
Oh, there you go. So this is Two Ways of Life by Oscar Gustave Rejoinder, taken in 1857. And again, this again copying fine art and paintings, because obviously there was lots of nudes and paintings at the moment, probably is, but this I think this was about, or possibly the first time that photography started using nudes. So Rejoinder was into a bit of causing a bit of controversy, and my voice really is going.
Do you want me to get you a glass of water?
Yes, please. Let me have. Apparently there's some moral tale or something. Sorry, can I wait till the water? This is how she is at home, to be honest. She just waits on my hand.
I know she's not coming back.
She doesn't come back, you'll know what it's really like.
If your car ends up going, you know you've had it.
I'll be waiting in the car.
A camera's here. She'll come back.
Just for a camera.
Yeah. Thank you. I've just said this is what you like at home. Waiting on me. Thoughtful, waiting on me.
Yeah.
I did say that.
Yeah.
So apparently there's some moral tale or something going on here with the people that are coming into that room. And this threw a challenge to those who rejected photography's claim to be on a parity with painting. Now, Queen Victoria bought a copy of this picture for the Prince Consort, but she only bought a cheap copy that cost 10 guineas, which Rejoinder wasn't very happy about because he'd quite like to have sold the original to her. So on the technical side, away from the controversial side of having nudes, this image took 6 weeks to produce, not including the time it took to shoot every model and background individually. So it's kind of a composite, sort of a collage, and made up of 32 negatives. So every person and every bit of background was photographed separately. I couldn't do that now in Photoshop, no, to be honest.
You can't Photoshop.
Sorry?
You cannot Photoshop.
I can't, no I can't. I couldn't. I know some people in this room could, but I think some other people would struggle as well. So again, quite a feat for its time.
Can everybody see the two ways of wow? I'm just trying to get the...
Yeah, it's like good and evil, isn't it?
where's
Like,
the good and where's the evil?
well, it depends on your
Perspective,
perspective, I
I suppose,
suppose. Yeah, because they look like they're preying on that side.
On the right hand side, you've got a work of sword.
But this is like debauchery, I think.
Yeah,
That's what
the
it's
debauchery
showing.
side on a...
Yeah. Yeah, you've got the moral side and the bad side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got one woman. One woman's looking very much like Mary, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, God's the man with the old beard from into judgment, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that sounds like, I did read but I've forgotten what the actual moral was, but obviously it's about morals and things. And he's got two people with him, one who's leaning to one side and one who's leaning to the other side. Okay, move on from the nudes. No more nudity.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Okay, next question. It's obviously around this time, isn't it? Because that's what the presentation's on this time.
1858.
Ooh. Ooh. Right at the back. Let's go back and see what the actual answer is.
Just before the world went to crap.
Ooh,
Close.
damn close. 1859. Oh. Anybody know what? I know it says business cards, but does anybody? It wasn't. They weren't exactly business cards. That's the modern translation of what carte de visite means. Okay, so carte de visite. This was when the craze for collecting portraits first gripped fashionable Europe. Ownership of a celebrity likeness granted acquaintance by proxy. So if you got a picture of Elton John and you showed it to someone, you knew Elton John. You know, this was sharing things and stuff and conning people, really, let's be honest. While exchanging portrait cards with friends reinforced status and social ties. So you turn up with a little picture of yourself in the back pocket and go, hey, that's me, that is. And by proxy, you know me now. So you know a celebrity.
Yeah, but I remember hearing things, I know it's a lot more recent, like in Agatha Christie book or plays, if you ever listen to those or watch them. And like, if somebody goes to visit someone and they're not in, they leave a card.
Or calling card.
A calling
Calling
card,
card.
yeah. Is
Yeah.
that the same sort of thing, or is that more
But
modern?
I think because this is tied into photography, and I did actually buy an original carte de visite, if anybody would like to pass that round for people to have a look. eBay,
Who's your new mate then?
Yeah, who's your nobler?
names on the back.
He doesn't want to name drop, do you?
No,
Said
no.
anybody, no?
Not jealous.
So, I think it's a bit weird, like turning up and like giving somebody your picture. I know we have business cards now, which I thought were dying out, but then when we went to the photo pubs the other week, there was a competition and they asked people to drop the business cards in. Does anybody here have business cards? You do? All right, okay, so they do still. Except I don't think they're as popular as they were. Have you ever watched the film American Psycho, where business cards are a really big thing and it's got double everything and stuff? But
I have to create them for people at work.
do you?
Japan, when they pass them over, they're actually really reverential to them. They actually pass them with two hands and they're really careful and they're very respectful of them.
Yeah. I mean, American Psycho's worth watching, but it's a bit gory and there's a bit more nudity than there is in that last picture anyway.
You used to get them in telephone boxes, didn't you?
Different sound cards.
Was he talking to you then? Did you used to put your business cards in telephone boxes?
Are you sure this isn't where you get this one up from?
But yeah, I was quite, again, this is another aside, but I was quite fascinated by these carte de visite and the fact that, well, let's go on. Napoleon III, there he is. Disdairy spread the tale that Napoleon halted his troops to pop into the studio to have this picture taken before leading them on the Austrian campaign. True or not, his victories at Magento and Solferino fueled demand for his portrait, so he went off to war and everybody wanted this picture. It was taken in 1859. That's another...
Do you want the light off again so you can see?
I don't think it's that important, we're not looking at details really. It's just the fact that these are carte de visite. And then, Disdairy patented a system of making 10 small prints at a time. This image of Napoleon really kick-started the craze, and everyone rushed out to have their own carte de visite, and failure to have one was a serious faux pas. Even Queen Victoria got in on it, and between 1861 and 1867, over 300 million carte de visite were sold in England.
Oh, okay, you can carry on now.
And, I forgot what I was on. Da Vinci, it's him again, had understood way back when that each eye had a different viewpoint. But Wheatstone first made an invention out of the principle of stereoscopy and seeing in 3 dimensions. He realised that a scene could be made from 2 different viewpoints, which are the same distance apart as the space between the human's eyes. And when viewed together, it gave depth to the image. And it took him 5 years to develop, and the results were first seen in 1838. I don't know what else he was doing for those 5 years. Whether he had a job and he got to go to work, then he got home with work on with 3D. So it was 1833, kind of, even though the results didn't come out till 1838. And there's an old 3D camera. So the distance between, does that look adjustable now?
Yeah. And vertically as well. Controls and stuff.
Yeah. So that, the different distance between the human's eyes. The viewer was cumbersome, and so the idea didn't catch on until Scott David Brewster, who later invented the kaleidoscope, came up with a stereoscope in 1849. Oh, no, that's wrong. Oh, that one. Remember those? Yes. The Viewmaster. And then images that look like that, you'd look at pictures like that with some glasses on or whatever. And then there was the anaglyph from Wilhelm Rollmann in 1852. So in one image, he managed to get 3D, whereas that one, previously we were looking at more than one image. So that, remember the red and green glasses that you used to look at 3D pictures through? Oh, we put a dinosaur in for Claire.
Thank you. But I need some 3D glasses to see it in 3D.
Yeah, we've got some somewhere at home.
I'm sure
Remember, some books came and you had 3D glasses in time. There's a 3D image on the front. Remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that. There's another 3D image that obviously you can't see that well without 3D glasses. And there's someone having a really good time watching or looking at something in 3D. Okay, so when was the mugshot invented? Where's mugshot?
Is that coffee?
That's a shot of a coffee mug, yes. Yeah. That was in 1885. So working for the Paris Prefecture of Police, Bertillon included standardised photographic portraits and the comprehensive files he created for identifying criminals. This system was soon adopted by police in Great Britain, Europe and the United States. So, and I think I've got an example of a mugshot here.
Oh, so predictable.
This is one of the first early criminals, a relative of somebody, I don't really know who they are. Obviously, a bad type.
Eyes are too close together.
Why I've got a picture of Claire's passport. I've got a picture of Claire's passport on my, I say passport picture, and I've got a scanned thing on my computer. I was like, I wanted to put numbers along the side, but that's far too technical.
What does the braille say?
I can't do it. We've been filmed.
Wanted.
It says amazing wife.
Please contact Interpol.
Ooh, like the 3D transition.
So, hang on. What time now? Photographing, we might actually get to the end of this, but photographing children and women photographers. The two kind of went together because, particularly at the time, women spent more time at home, so they were better with children, so they were better looking after the children when they were having the photos taken, and they were better stylists as well. Then, I'm not sure about now, I'm not going to get into that sort of thing. And they could also arrange clothing, or rearrange clothing, when the people were having the pictures taken, which men were forbidden to do for reasons of impropriety. So, where are we on?
That's not fair again.
It's not very subtle way of the mother holding the baby, is it? This is another way of keeping children still for the long exposure time. So yeah, so that's, sorry?
So slightly creepy as well.
It is very creepy, isn't it?
I came across a whole load of photos like that where women are just hiding behind a curtain, but sometimes you could see them.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit odd. Well, obviously people wanted the picture, they wanted the child to keep still.
There's a photo of my daughter, and it's like a little bridge to the side and it goes behind them, and it's to granddad on the floor.
Yeah.
You think you should wear something that matches the background and make it not quite so obvious?
Yeah, or anything, but anything but that, really. So we've talked about using restraints and ether, but a variety of drug we used. We'll come back to that in a minute. I said things would be out of order. So in a time when few professions welcomed women, hostility towards female photographers had not had time to build up at this point. If you look how that's phrased, hostility hadn't had time to build up. It wasn't going to happen. It was going to happen because, it's society and people are going to batter women down and for whatever they do. But things did improve in photography. Things got better in photography. In 1861, 1 in every 14 photographers was a woman. In 1871, it was 1 in every 6. And in 1901, 1 in every 3 photographers was a woman. I don't know what it is now, but things were improving then because hostility hadn't had time to build up. It's not good, is it? It's not good. So back to the children, who were subdued by gassing them with chloroform or made tractable with opium. Or they had their fingers dipped in treacle and feathers. Everybody guess why that was?
Stop them from licking the fingers.
No.
Can't make anything up if you've got your fingers covered up.
I think it says the babies picked up off the feathers, so they just sat there and kept them quite still and kept them occupied. Around this time, the phrase, "what's the birdie?" possibly developed.
Did child abuse develop as a
Child
term as
abuse
well?
was big. Misogyny was raring as it always is.
And it could have been worse. It could have been up a chimney or in the workhouse.
Yeah, yeah. So I just thought that they gassed them and gave them opium.
I'd rather have opium than go up a chimney if I had to choose.
That gassing.
Well,
That's
depends how much
quite
gas.
often around you, isn't it?
Funny, yeah.
So what's the birdie? Can anybody guess why?
The flash.
What's the birdie came from?
See the flash?
No.
Attracting them with something by the camera.
A budge or something.
A photographer called Davis trained a canary to start singing just as he removed the lens cap to start the exposure. So people would be going. Is that? I'm not in shot there, am I?
Yeah.
Damn. So people hold still. And another guy trained a monkey to actually make the exposure, so people would be watching the monkey to keep them still.
But then
Again-
who's the photographer, the monkey, or the photographer?
Oh. But again, it's probably better than being gassed or being chloroformed. So both tactics were designed to make the sitters forget they were being photographed, something to be endured for as little time as possible. When people are handing round carte de visite willy-nilly, yet they don't really want their actual picture taken, it was quite a juxtaposition. Is that the right use of the word? I've used the word juxtaposition. Correctly. So both tactics were made. Yeah, sorry. Oh, and there was also a thriving business in photographs of children who had passed away.
That's adults
Did-
as well. They do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they kept still.
You didn't need to drug them first.
Glyn,
Didn't need to drug
Probably
them.
died of overdose.
Sorry?
they used to paint eyes on the...
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those pictures. Yeah. I suppose with infant mortality was a lot higher than it is now. But I don't know if. Sorry?
You give them too much opium, that's what happens.
Well,
Yeah.
They were already in this photography studio. They'd been drugged up, been overdosed.
Yeah, they were alive when they arrived.
Carry on.
I mean, it's also like, well, photography, especially in poorer families, it was a very like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So if you didn't get there before your kids had died, they
Yeah.
just have to do them after.
Yeah. I don't know. Do people still do that? I don't know.
Yeah,
They do.
yeah, there's, yeah.
Take photos
Right.
of
But
that.
it said if you, like in the Sentinel, you know, I mean, if you look at deaths, there's pictures and pictures of death.
After they've
Yeah,
passed away.
yeah.
Okay. Have they been gassed?
Well, who knows?
So that's Hidden Mother by a very famous photographer called Unknown.
He gets a badge, doesn't he?
Just as an example of a female photographer, this was Isabella and Clementina Hawarden, and that was taken by Lady Hawarden in 1863. And she left over 800 photographs that she'd taken in her lifetime.
800, that's about one visit today, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, an hour.
Yeah.
Hour out, isn't it? 800 photographs. Lewis Carroll. Oh, sorry, I better get reading first. So, although known primarily as the author of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, 1865 and 1872, Lewis Carroll was also a mathematics lecturer at Oxford University, a deacon at Christ Church Cathedral, Oxford, and an accomplished photographer. Carroll, christened Charles Ludwig Dodgson, practised photography for over 25 years and photographed hundreds of sitters in his Oxford studio. So this image shows Carroll's great friend and photography teacher Reginald Southey with human and monkey skeletons and skulls. And it appears to be a reference to the debates regarding Darwinism and theories of evolution which were raging at Oxford at the time. It may perhaps suggest Southey's intellectual position on the theory. I'm not sure what, I presume he's just mimicking the skeleton. I'm not sure why he's looking away from it, whether that means something or not. That was taken by Lewis Carroll. Remember the bit at the beginning? We move on. I think I've only got one slide left.
Oh.
What?
Yeah. Which means, well, let's do the last slide. So another question. It's a question. So,
It's 8:30.
oh no, it's only. When was the company Kodak formed?
Last year,
Last year. Good guess.
before last year.
Yes.
Okay, one way.
It was actually formed in 1888. They're still going, aren't they? But they don't produce film anymore, do they? Is that right?
No, it's not as you
Do they?
think so.
I'm sure.
Cameras that don't do that.
Sorry?
Cameras that don't do that.
I thought they
Right.
brought out another Polaroid type camera recently, Kodak.
Do they?
They printed, you that kind of print station, print off straight away.
Right.
I might be wrong, but what I read
No,
recently.
they definitely don't paper. Okay. Do paper.
We're waiting for Google.
Since emerging from bankruptcy, they're still living cameras and film.
Alright. Alright, maybe I'd stop reading at the point where they went bankrupt. Things change, things move on, or things go back. So George Eastman of Rochester, New York had an idea. Use this new roll film, build a simple, easy to use camera and market it as a fun use product. In the history of photography, Eastman was a master of marketing photography to the masses. You push the button, we do the rest. People then could it wasn't just 3-word slogans. People were clever enough to have a 7-word slogan. It wasn't just 3, it wasn't just hands, face, space, 7 words. Anyway, Eastman Kodak became a driving force in the worldwide boom of photography. They introduced many different formats of films, both in rolls and sheets, as well as cameras for beginner, enthusiast and professional photographers. And if you know, they're still going today. They did go bankrupt. They're still making cameras and film now, having come back from bankruptcy. I don't know if you knew that. Done my research. Right, to be honest, that's where I've got up to. Okay, we're up to 1888. We haven't even touched the 1900s. And I was hoping there'd still be a bit left over for next week, but now I've got to go back and do some more before next week. Because next week's the AGM, then it's planning, and then any time left over. If you want me to do part 2.
Yeah.
And then we'll look in the future, if you still want to put maybe part 3.
Let's not go until September.
Forget the planning, we'll just do the history of photography all throughout the year.
The thing is, as time keeps going, there'll be more history being
I know, that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, by next week something new will have come out.
What do you say?
That saves us from
Yeah,
having to
yeah.
do our stuff.
Yeah, nobody else needs to do a presentation for the next 6 months. Right, that's it so far. Has anybody learnt anything?
Yes.
Yeah.
What have you learnt?
That was filmed in 18.
Less than that.
Hey.
Lewis Carroll the better.
Yes.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
very much.